Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Friar Talk podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping the Rockies Padres series. And, overall, it was kind of coincidentally, a rocky series. I mentioned it in the live stream. It seems like the Padres have a really tough time beating those teams that aren't very good. Mentioned the Rockies, where we have a really hard time against the Rockies. We're 8-8 against the Rockies. We've gotten swept by them, I believe, earlier in the season. So, been some tough sledding against them, but Chase, what are your overall takeaways of this series, and who stood out to you? I think I know your answer for who stood out to you.
Ha-Seong Kim, in the absence of Tatis, he sort of just kind of took over and was like, yeah, not Fernando Tatis, but I will still be a key in that lineup whenever you need me to be. The double, the home run, the just solid defense he always provides. He has kind of proven himself in the opportunities more recently that he could be a legit starting everyday player. His overall stats don't really show that. He shows glimpses, and I feel like we're about to see that he's going to cement himself to be an everyday player, or should be an everyday player in that Padres lineup. And my overall thoughts on the series is, wow. We faced two starting pitchers we could have traded for, and they absolutely dominated us. John Gray, I think, threw 7 innings. Herman Marquez was like another 6 innings and barely any runs. It was just Padres couldn't do anything for them out, and it would be amazing for the Padres right now because Darvish has had like over a 5 ERA since the sticky ban. Snell is still trying to figure everything out. Paddock is now hurt, but even then, his outing was okay, nothing special. And so now we're down another pitcher. 2 of our aces are struggling beyond belief. Musgrove has been fantastic in figuring it out. And then Weathers absolutely got rocked. So what do we take away from that? We need pitching, and we need to trade for it.
Yeah, completely agree. That's exactly what you got to take away from it. During the I think it was during I think it was Yu Darvish's start where they mentioned he has like a 5, 6, 7 ERA. Might be a 7 ERA in the month of July. So do you think that maybe like July's kind of an outlier, or do you think it's going to be tough sledding from here for the pitching staff?
Well, I feel like the end of August might be a little different because now that the pitchers have gotten probably more used to than they have been as of recently to the sticky ban, being able just to throw with the rosin bag, we might see some numbers change, but then again, we might not because that adjustment is a little bit more difficult to make when you're used to having something help you with either spin rate, gripping the ball, or location. The different things happens when you have a better grip on the ball. So yeah, I don't know what to expect. I feel like Musgrove's going to be fine. He's always kind of been a streaky pitcher, but with his last outing, I have absolutely no worries for him. Snell continues just to be very, hey, I'm going to be very dominant this game. I'm going to suck the next 4, but then I'm going to give you a really good outing that shows you like I'm working on something, and then suck again for the next 4. Darvish has glimpses of where like he's going to be completely fine, but then it's always like 1 or 2 home runs later that he gives up 5 earned runs. Like, I'm more worried about his fastball location than anything because anytime he throws the fastball, it feels like it always gets taken deep for a home run because he misses his spot, and it's like down the middle, 97. And I think that's the only thing wrong with him is that his fastball location hasn't been great since that ban, and ever since then, it's been very hittable. It's like the batter's go-to pitch to get a hit is the four-seam fastball, and he doesn't even throw it all that often. So the bats have been okay, probably outside of Tommy Pham and Trent Grisham. I'm not going to say anything about Marisnick because he's only had a 1-game sample size. It would be fair for me to bag on the guy after 1 game. But Pham, 2 for his last 26. He has a 1 walk to 15 strikeout ratio in his past 7 games. Grisham has been ice cold. I think he's hitting 180 in the month of July. So, we really need some guys to step up, especially since our pitchers have been struggling.
Yeah, and earlier on you mentioned Ha-Seong Kim, and I think it goes unsaid that he would be a starting shortstop for a lot of other teams in this league. Yeah, he's not Fernando Tatis, but as I mentioned, he would be one of the better shortstops in the league. With time, he's going to be one of the better players. Maybe not, superstar potential, but a guy who hits around 250, 260, and we're seeing the potential that he has. He has a lot of power even for a little guy, but he's just showing the potential that he has. I think he's still going to be a very valuable depth piece for this team. And we're going to see down within these next couple games how valuable he is to the Padres. Earlier in the year, he was batting around 204 with an expected batting average of 216. But I think what goes a little bit unrecognized is when he does get his moments, when he does get up there in those big time moments, he comes up clutch. He always has some really clutch moments. You could see the home run, and he brought in runners on in that Rockies game against Austin Gomber. And I think that's another thing. Earlier in the year, we were saying how he might struggle. He might struggle to try and adapt from the KBO to here, because in the KBO max you would see 92 maybe, and that's from a guy that's probably the hardest throwing in the KBO. Now he's coming here. He's facing guys like Jacob deGrom. He hit good off Gomber. He's starting to find his groove, so that's really good to see. Mentioning the pitching, Yu Darvish, really, really, really tough sledding for him lately. Unfortunately, it's been really rough July. I went to his start against the Dodgers on the 21st, and he looked fantastic, amazing. Ever since then, though, downhill. Really unfortunate. I do think he will bounce back, but that's going to be seen here in the future. Just the movement on his ball, the spin rate on his ball, none of it looks the same. Obviously, with the sticky stuff going away, we expected that, but I don't think I expected this much of a drop off from our ace. So we're just gonna have to hope that he bounces back, because if we get to that wild card game and we have Yu Darvish being the way he was earlier in the year, that's who I want on the bump. Joe Musgrove, you mentioned how great of a start he had recently. Hopefully he keeps that up. Chris Paddock, you said he had a start that was nothing special. I think he had a good start. He just had really one bad inning, three runs in one inning. The rest he looked very good. But that's kind of what I expect from Paddock. I don't expect him to be an ace. I think 4 or 5 guys are going to be perfect. Blake Snell, I guess I want to ask you this really quick. Do you think our playoff chances ride on Blake Snell being able to provide some consistent, at least decent outings? Do you think our playoff chances ride on the guy that we traded Luis Patino and Francisco Mejia for?
I can't say yes or no. It's kind of both, especially as of right now, because we don't have a lot of guys. We're going to be depending on a lot of, talent from the minors right now, because we have a lot of guys hurt. Weathers is struggling, so you kind of have to really depend on your top 3 guys. So I guess in that case, yes, because if our top 3 guys can't scratch out 3 wins for us, so that the second half of our rotation, Weathers, I guess, Kinnear, or Gore, or whoever the September call-ups may be, because we got a lot of guys hurt, and Weathers has been struggling, and our bullpen is completely depleted. It has the most innings. It's going to end up boxing butt during playoffs if we don't get those guys some rest before then. So, yeah, I guess it would be considered yes. Yeah, it depends on him and the other 2 guys, how many innings they can throw and how many quality starts they can give us, because if they can't give us a lot of quality starts and it relies on a lot of the offense, we will get burned and we might slip out of playoff contention.
Yeah, so overall, my main takeaways from this series, the pitching, we've been mentioning for I don't know how many series at this point. Pitching needs to step up and be what we thought they were going to be. I understand a lot of people were mad at the deadline that we didn't acquire a starter, but at the same time, AJ Preller has already went out there and grabbed Clevenger, Darvish, Snell, Musgrove. He's already grabbed a lot of starting pitching talent, so he's done what he can. Maybe he could have made an extra push for Max Scherzer. Let's be real, though. The prices at the deadline were really high, so overall, these starters need to step up, and he mentioned it. Our playoff chances are going to ride on them, and he's completely right. Another takeaway is these bats need to get more consistent. You mentioned Tommy Pham, too, for his last 26, and That's coming off a really hot June. So hopefully he can be somewhere in the middle at least and be the starting left fielder that we expect him to be and be a consistent presence in the lineup. Trent Grisham, we've mentioned it. He's a star in our opinion, but he's a very streaky hitter. He's not showing his star potential right now. So he really needs to figure that out because he's one of those guys that can easily, be the difference between us putting up 2 runs and us putting up 7 runs, in my opinion. So he's going to be huge. So Chase, anything else you want to talk about this series? I mean, not too much to take away other than the Padres are awful for some reason against teams that they should be dominating. They're not that good, and I think that's the reason we're 6.5 games back right now, while the Giants and Dodgers are handling business. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we play to the level of our competition. It never seems to fail, but we should be beating up on the smaller teams, and that's what the teams ahead of us are doing. The Dodgers can beat up on the smaller teams, the worser teams, and the Giants do the same. And that's why we're 6.5 games back and not in first. Because we got swept by the Rockies. We just lost another series to the Rockies, where in case the Dodgers and Giants would probably either take the series or sweep them. That's the difference right now. And the difference is that the Dodgers have a healthy rotation, the Giants have a healthy rotation, and the Padres just simply have a struggling one and one that's hurt. But in good news, Strom looks really good. He should be coming back. I believe he'll be able to eat some innings. Lamet should be close to return, is what I've heard. So, we'll get a couple guys back to either bolster the rotation or bolster the bullpen. Don't really know which way Lamet's going to go right now, considering all the injuries. But we shall see.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I absolutely had to mention before we went, Fernando Tatis went down with an injury, unfortunately, placed on the 10-day IL. I don't know if I expect it to be 10 days. It could be a little longer, but, hoping for the best here. We know that he was at an MVP level before he got hurt, and hopefully he's able to keep that up when he comes back. So we can only hope for the best at this point. Hopefully surgery is not on the table to the end of the season. I know some people are saying that they want him to get the surgery now, but that would just – to me, that just feel like you gave up on the season, and that should not be the case. I know he's got a lot of years left on his contract, but right now is the window for the Padres, and you got to take full advantage of it. So that's all I got. Chase, any last words or anything? No? Cool. So thank you guys for listening. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So, let any other baseball fans know, Padre fans know about us, subscribe to us, and thank you guys for listening.